Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Mod Talks, brought to you by Modularity Home. Missed you guys. My name is Nikki Gil-Albert, and I will be your host for today. And you guys are in for a very exciting afternoon as we chat with one of the best and most sought after in the industry. You guys know the drill. Right after our chat, we will be opening the floor to questions, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions prepared and that you would like to ask our speaker. So please feel free to just send them in. But before we go any further, just a few information on the group behind our host, Modularity Home, and why Mod Talks was birthed. So Modularity Home has been around since 2010. They are the exclusive distributors of luxury Italian home brands such as Cavallini, Valcocine, Bianca, and Elica. They focus on modular cabinetry systems that started with kitchens, which, as we all know, is the heart of the home. But they have since expanded onto living spaces, bathrooms, closets, and accessories, the very elements that go beyond the kitchen and inject soul into our homes. Now, about Mod Talks. Mod Talks is a webinar series produced by Modularity Home, born out of an idea to inspire and ignite interest in style, design, and architecture. Our aim is to encourage conversation about new design concepts and innovations, and we hope that these conversations will keep end users as well as fellow industry practitioners informed and engaged. This is supposed to be a collaborative platform where we share with industry professionals, which we share with industry professionals to educate and contribute insight about design, architecture, style, construction, and home improvement based on their professional or personal experience. And I know right now we have a lot of architects, designers, students, and fellow homeowners watching this afternoon. Now, today's episode will be something very interesting because we will be talking about two very distinct design passions. I'm talking about art and architecture and how these two come together to complement one another. And what better way to start the year as I get to pick the brain of another one of our industry's most sought after architectural superstars, architect Anthony Nazareno. I will talk more about him in a bit, but before anything else, again, a reminder for those of you who just tuned in, we will have time to answer questions from the audience, so feel free to send them in the chat box, and we will try to address as much as we can. And so keep them coming in. All right. First up, we have the general manager of Modularity Home, equally passionate about architecture and design, as I have witnessed during our collaboration on designing my dream Scavallini home kitchen. Please welcome Mr. Brian Hontiveros. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Nikki. 2021, first one for the year.
I know.
I've
We
been,
start with a bang.
I know, I've been trying to contact Anthony about this for several months now. Alam mo naman, master architect,
Oh my goodness.
mahirap hagilapin.
Yes.
But
Wish list mo to, Brian.
wish list yan. Um, Actually, Cynthia and Ivy also told us na sana after them si Anthony naman. So, even people from the industry really respect Anthony. I treat him as a friend. We have many things in common. Lagi kami nagchichismisan. So, I don't really want to parang say too much about him because I think everyone will learn a lot today. I have my notebook right beside me, which is not the usual case. Usually everything is absorbed, but in this particular case, Anthony knows a lot of things, and every time I talk to him, I learn a lot of things. So I hope everyone enjoys today's Mod Talks with Anthony Nazareno. Anthony, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us today.
It really is a pleasure, Brian and Nikki, to be here. I look look forward to talking about our subject matter today, and I did mention that one of the things that I was worried about was if we were gonna go well over the 2 hour 2 hour time allotment, because it's something very fun to me, both art and architecture, as you know. So yes, I'm looking
There-
forward
There's a
to this.
there's a lot to talk about. But before that, architect, please allow me to give you a more heartfelt introduction. These are just tidbits of information that I'm sure your fans will appreciate if they don't already know it. But again, allow me to formally introduce our guest speaker. After taking his undergrad studies from the prestigious California College of the Arts, architect Anthony trained under celebrated modernist architect Jim Jennings, as well as leading New York architecture firm Lee Saltzman. In 1998, he founded the Nazareno Design Group, and in 2009, brought the company to even greater heights with managing partner Christian Guerrero. Known for their standout signature residential projects, NGDC continuously creates new and innovative solutions for its various endeavors. The team won the 2011 design competition for the Aquino Museum in Tarlac entitled Reawakening Democracy. In addition to designing the DLSUD College of Engineering and Architecture of Technology, which is set to be completed within the year. To add to the growing list of accomplishments, architect Anthony established Chisel Design last year, which is a collaboration with daughter Bea Nazareno, where they create collections of furniture and home accessories together. Once again, it is my distinct pleasure and honor to welcome one of the industry's brightest stars, architect Anthony Nazareno. Architect, thank you again for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Really I enjoyed being here, talking to you and
Now,
Brian. Yeah.
let's just get right to it, architect. And I'm sure a lot of people here want to know how and when exactly did your passion for the arts and architecture start? Like, have you always wanted to be an architect?
It's funny. I think art for that matter is really ingrained in who I am. My grandfather is a sculptor who trained under Guillermo Tolentino.
Wow.
Other than that, uh, during the years I was growing up, my father and my mother uh, collected art. My mom still does. And it was art that spanned from old masters, religious icons to
Mm-hmm.
contemporary art. And like I said, my mom still is very active in collecting at the moment. So we our Disneyland when we were kids was really museums.
Mm-hmm.
It was that sort of upbringing in the sort of environment where my mom and my dad would invite artists over to the house, and in fact, even not just artists. You know, talking about architecture. At one point, I would see a lot of Jello's dad, Jello Manyosa, Tito Bobby Manyosa, because he was a big part of, big influence uh, in how I saw architects. Not just
Let's talk
architecture, but
about
how I saw
that.
architects.
This is one of your first few projects, right, architect? If not your
Well,
very first.
this is, yeah. Um, I well, Tito Bobby went to the house with his team. I still remember it's the Tito Ludwig Alvarez, who is still with Manyosa, Manyosa and Associates, and Chelo Hofilenia. They were doing some things for my mom and dad, and consequently was renovating the house. And I told them, okay, for some reason, I told them, okay, you can touch everything except my room. I'll do my own room. And
And how
that
old were
was my
you
first.
then,
I was
architect?
kind of just shadowing them. Ano ginagawa nila Tita Bobby? I was kind of just shadowing them. Oh, raised platform. I pretty much did my own thing, and my room turned out to be the ugliest room in the house. So
But
it was
you were
it was
how
my
old,
first
architect?
foray.
How you
Nas,
were how old? Let's tell
uh,
everyone how old you were when this happened.
I'd say about 14, 14. Yeah, about 14.
First
Yeah.
project at 14, not bad
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. But it was great because Tito Bobby invited us to his house, and it was all the way in Alabang. And he literally, I'm glad you're showing this photo, because he opened up his house to us and even brought us to his bedroom. And then it was just so
Wow.
mind-bending where, the bedroom was actually opening up with a glass corner as shown and looking out to a pond. I mean, for a 14-year-old wishing to be an architect, I mean, that was just eye-opening. What
Yeah.
you can do beyond what you know of architecture. So he was and he was so passionate about his craft. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think everyone knows that. So yeah, it was great to have been around Tito Bobby just as much as George Ramos was, the father of Nick Ramos, and they were friends with my folks, and they opened up their house to me, and a lot of artists do too. I mean, Art for one, um, there were a lot of instances where I was allowed to go into studios of artists
Mm-hmm.
because my folks knew them. So it was great. It was great having that opportunity and being open to that by virtue of how we were brought up. Yeah.
Architect, let's talk about taking it to the next level, like turning this passion into something that you really want to do full time. So let's talk about that choice to get into university, to
Yeah.
take up architecture, and how this
It,
all
it, it
came about.
was, it was not a difficult choice for me in terms of uh, knowing what I wanted to do. Really, I could have being at the when I ended up being at the California College of the Arts. You had your foundation years there, Nikki,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I took up various courses like photography and drawing and painting, and I could have literally gone to. I think I could have gone to industrial design or furniture design really
Mm-hmm.
easily. Um, but I had a few. I had a mentor there at CCA who really just, I think, believed in me and what I was doing. Who
Mm-hmm.
is Jim Jennings, and he really taught me a lot. And during my formative years as a really young designer,
Mm-hmm.
um, he saw my work and he knew I was he knew I was Asian and I was from the Philippines. When you study in the States, there's such a thing as critique culture, and they
Mm-hmm.
just really, you know, uh, pick your pick your
Your work
design
apart.
apart. Yeah, literally. So he knew he knew my background, and he was not easy on me, but he knew how to kind of guide me along and mentor me.
Mm-hmm.
And consequently, I ended up with him after college.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, these are some of his works. And I just, to this day, just really enjoy looking at just the purity of the form and the materials that he used and the way he plays with light and shadow,
Mm-hmm.
and just really injecting also art into into the equation. We uh, I know there was one project here called the Visiting Artists Residence, and that was a mind blowing project. He did a lot of projects um, in that context. It was
Were,
very
Architect, were
modern.
you
Yeah.
were you a part of the photos that we were flashing earlier? Were you a part of those specific projects, or
There,
um
sadly, I don't have. There were some projects I worked on with him in Stinson Beach. I was telling
mm-hmm.
Brian, Stinson Beach and near Point Reyes, we did a house there. But I don't see there's also a house we did in San Francisco, just made of corten steel. I was part of that project, but I don't see it here. But yeah, it's these kinds of lines, and when you look at these, um, having gone through the photos a couple of days ago, and then having gone through my own photos of my work, it kind of almost, surprised me how
big
the
the
lines
influence
just,
was.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So yeah, but having studied under Jim and being mentored under Jim, uh, I don't know. I found myself wanting to move on,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, architect, do you think
yeah,
you can give us just some of the practical things, design in terms of design that you learned from Jim Jennings? Like,
it
do you have anything right now?
I still remember him first sitting with me in the studio, and this was still in CCA, and him
Mm-hmm.
telling me, um, "What material are you using?" He called me then Jose Antonio, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Jose, what material are you using? So I told him, well, I'm using travertine here, such kind of showing him my palette, and he was like, "Do you really have to?" So it was like, I was kind of surprised. He really is a purist.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to do the same now. The influence of that. And when we use in my practice now, people see, Anthony, you use a lot of wood. What wood is that? Is that, I'm not going to name any names, but is it uh, sort of saying, I tell them we use real wood. We use real wood.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a challenge, and there's
Mm-hmm.
an appropriateness of where and when you use wood, and that's what I
Okay.
learned from him. I remember, you know, during that same first conversation with Jim, he told me, "Why don't you just leave it as it is?" What do you mean leave it as it is?
Mm.
Just concrete,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still the same with me when we work with materials, and we are, I would like to think, very uh, we're very thorough in choosing what material to use in our projects.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was squarely on what the influences I got from the studio with Jim, and even beyond when I was working with him.
You actually
So,
mentioned something very interesting, architect, yesterday that stuck with me. I don't know if this was from something that you picked up from Jim Jennings, but you said, "Don't don't put something there where, y-
oh
like
yeah, I mean,
you only put it there if you need it. If you don't need it, get it out
yeah,
of there." Which I found
there is
very.
nothing superfluous about his design, and I try to do the same with me. I mean, the level of restraint then was just, over the top.
Mm-hmm.
We had a project where you were looking out to Stinson Beach, and you started sketching. Everybody started sketching. You started sketching a window, and he was like, "Why are we putting a window there? We're not even putting any glass, or there's nothing. Just
Yeah.
feel the wind on your skin. That's what it's supposed to be. You hear the beach, you feel the beach,
Mm-hmm.
you smell it. Just take
That's awesome.
take it out." So I'm
Take
like,
it out.
right.
So, architect, from a very purist minimalist aesthetic, which to this day is something that your firm is really, kind of like a proponent of. Let's you did explore um other methods, other practices, other styles, if you will, and this came about when you joined the
Lee
architecture
Saltzman.
firm Lee Saltzman.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about that? Because these are two very different
Very different. I mean,
aesthetics,
it
and yes.
it's the same with how it's the same with how I uh, appreciate art.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate art, uh, like Diego Velázquez's art, and I appreciate art like Frank Stella's. And these are two very different artists and two very different eras. And having grown in a house where, your parents collected stuff from Bohol, religious icons and furniture from Bohol, and then talk to people in the forefront of architecture, uh, you look for that also. You look for that. So I wanted to go to New York, and there was this architecture firm, Lee Saltzman, where we worked with Naomi Leff on the preservation and conservation of the Rhinelander house for Ralph Lauren, which turns out to be which we're looking at right now, which turns out to be Ralph Lauren's first flagship store. So it was from a point where we just did the bare essentials with Jim, and then moving to New York, where you had to make sure every molding was correct.
Yeah.
Researching every aspect
so much detail
of this brownstone house. And so much detail inside and out. So it was fun in that respect. It takes a lot out of you to do detail. And remember, Nikki, when I was there, wala pang CAD. So we were doing
everything was manually rendered.
So everything was done manually. It was,
and everything needed to be period correct. You mentioned architect.
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness.
Even pretty much everything. It was like that, for not just because your client was Ralph Lauren, but because the house was a heritage house. And you had to do it properly.
You had to respect that.
Yeah. So it was
totally.
Two very different practices, but two practices that I enjoyed immensely in developing who I am, and just feeding what I wanted to do.
But in your own practice, architect, it's really you don't do a lot of restoration, or is this something that you wish you did more of?
Anthony, Nikki, I think we were talking about it a while ago. Like I think where Anthony was working before, in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, most houses are actually old in the city. So I think most of the houses that he worked on with his mentor was actually outside of the city. I think here in Manila, based on my experience with you, Anthony, it's mostly new houses, right?
Yeah, mostly new houses. But we've done a number of renovations, but the renovations we're doing are of houses maybe 30, 40 years old, and not really those period houses that need to be restored properly in the same level as what we did at Lee Saltzman. But I think we're showing now one of the houses that is actually very dear to me, because this house, the Sampaguita residence, is one of the houses where it was just a lot of fun, because my client then just gave us a lot of leeway and flexibility. Her only wish really was, Anthony, I just want a glass house, which I ended up not giving to her still too, right? So because I at that point I realized this house was on the southwest corner of or oriented on the southwest corner. So I said, I can't give you a glass house. I'm sorry, because the house is going to be so hot. It's going to be a cauldron. Yeah. But we did one better, I think. I mean, that's what architecture offers. That's what technology offers, which is a creative solution. We did this. We sheathed the house with perforated aluminum panels, and I liken the house to almost like a beacon. It just glows at night And I told our client, and she was really, yeah, she's really fun to work with. I told her, look, you entertain at night. So this is what you'll see at night. It will look like a glass house, the one that you
Ooh,
actually
that's nice.
envisioned, not just the one you envisioned previously, but the one I envisioned for you. So yeah, she was game to. They both were game to what we came up with. Yeah, turned out
Architect,
pretty great.
since we're
I
looking
think.
at a local project, maybe you
Yeah.
can just give us like a brief, um, kind of like maybe a story for like how you ended up back here in the Philippines. What is the
Really,
primary reason for why you decided to
primary was
open your
economics. Yeah,
practice here?
primary was economics. I
Okay.
could have stayed longer. I was enjoying myself in the Bay Area in New York a lot, but I was really lucky to even have a job then.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the 90s, and you know uh, things were dry in
Yeah.
everywhere in the US. But on the other side of the pond, you know, there was this tiger economy in the Philippines
Yes.
in the mid 90s. So just really pack up and go. And
Mm-hmm.
other than that, my wife to be, who's my wife, is back home in the Philippines. And, you know,
There was more reason
arch-
to go
archi-
home.
architecture took a backseat to that.
May love story
Of
yan, Nikki.
course.
Yeah.
Ay, hindi ko alam. We should have talked about that off cam. But, all right.
It
Well,
still does.
since we're
Still
focusing
does
on
take a backseat.
residential design, architect, let's talk about your design process with your team. I'm sure you have a huge team under you. Uh,
You
and
know,
and I'm sure
my,
a lot
my
of our
team
viewers, just want to
my
know.
team is
Go
still
ahead.
composed of a core group of people. I've asked my partner before if do we want to make our team bigger, and I really like
Mm-hmm.
keeping it as yeah, here as shown
Okay.
here. I like the number of people I work with, knowing everyone, knowing their strengths, and working with them on each project, and
Mm-hmm.
just not getting as much project. I mean, I want to retain a number of projects, working with them and just understanding each nook and cranny
Okay.
and crevasse of each project. And it's very important to me to keep it that way. But having said that, you know, my team knows how I like design and the process by which I design. And I was just talking to a prospective client earlier today, um, where she knew how it is by just virtue of seeing our Instagram account, how she understood who we were and how
Mm-hmm.
what our architecture uh, uh, is like.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to do diagrams first and
Okay.
understand who our clients are. I
Mm-hmm.
always tell my team to listen to the clients, because not just because they are the clients, and we have to build their, whether it's a house or whatever building
The
typology
dream
we end up
home.
doing for them, but
Mm-hmm.
listen to them, because you will know what kind of personality they have. And personalities of each client
Mm-hmm.
will show in our work. It has to. Um, it has to. The
Mm-hmm.
materials we choose, Nikki, are almost specific to who we work
Mm-hmm.
with, I think. Yeah. And the just uh, the orthogonal nature of the forms that we do, we I try to always put in a couple of hours sitting with my team and just looking and trying to distill and restrain us ourselves from doing what we don't have to do. You're seeing projects here for various clients of ours where I enjoy cladding homes like this, and one of the things that we do is really again trying to have that relationship of what the material that we use is going to be for a particular client. There is a project where a couple of projects where we were asked to do a house for a client who had this long laundry list of requirements. And I just said, okay, yes, this sounds like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then not a few weeks later, somebody calls me and wants to work with us and has the same laundry list. I'm like, turns out to be brothers.
Oh, okay.
Turns out to be brothers. And it was fun working with them.
Were their properties situated right next to each other?
It sounded like it was going to be fun working with them until we realized the two houses were going to be right next to each other.
And they both wanted the same thing.
And they both wanted the same thing. And I'm now this nervous wreck because it could potentially have really looked the same. But again, it really is listening to them, Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
It really is listening to them, just like Brian and I do when we design cabinetry and kitchen. You really listen to them. Mm-hmm. And then when I did, I realized the personality of the two brothers so different. Where this picture on the left shows you, or the picture on the left earlier showed you, it was taken from a den room, which we called an entertainment room for that particular project. But the other brother had the same thing, but we called it a family room. This first house on the foreground shows you that this particular client was actually looking to almost design his house to entertain his friends. He kept telling me, Anthony, magugustuhan ba ng mga kaibigan ko to? I think
yes.
What do you think my friends will look at first? I mean,
as opposed to the other brother.
It was opposed to the other brother who was a little more drawn in and really I felt that he was more private, a lot more private than the other brother. Where we actually pushed the den room all the way to the very end of the house, and you can't get to that room unless you are
a family member.
Yeah, or you are let in. So we called it the family room. And so you see it. I mean, you see that the design process starts there. The design process is to listen. And consequently, Nikki, you listen well enough. And when we were in the job site, it was not a job site yet, but you listen well enough, and we were in the proposed site, and I heard rushing water. And when I did, we understood that family room was actually going to be a really nice sanctuary for them, because the very end of the house is where the rushing water was coming from. It was a creek. Hence we called it the creekside house, creekside residence. So everything at the back of the house became, in terms of room hierarchy, became more special rooms.
One of the most premium parts of the home.
So,
but yes, architect, these are all beautiful, and these are all very practical, approaches to dealing with clients. But every practical advice you can give is a solid philosophy, your design approach. So I just want to take it back to this whole art plus architecture discussion, and I just want to know your personal take on the relationship between the two. You actually mentioned something very interesting yesterday about how your art is how your architecture heavily influences your art as opposed to the other way around because you paint.
Yeah, I did. I've been asked that, and if the art that I see influences my architecture, I always say no, because it's my architecture that influences my art, because I also paint. And then but my only paintings are my own works, and they're all virtually my, just just, these are all very clumsy. I do it for myself, but it's all about
Mm-hmm.
the my, the projects that we do. It is that for me. And then I just, I've found some time for myself to paint again, Nikki. And yeah, over the pandemic. So yeah, it's great that also, consequently, the pandemic actually gave us a number of projects too. So, and
Wow.
yeah, I've been painting about those projects a lot. But you know, I thinking about it, you know, uh, there is actually one aspect of art that influences architecture, and I think it is composition.
Mm-hmm.
It is composition, and
Okay.
the banner by which maybe Frank Stella uh, does his work is something that I look at, the
Mm-hmm.
composition of lines, and even my favorite work of art of all
Mm-hmm.
time is actually a work based on composition, and it is also that in our design process, where the composition of elevations are very important to us. My team and I look at elevations and the play of light and
Mm-hmm.
shadow, and it's just not artificial lighting, it's natural lighting, and how light pierces in from outside in,
Mm-hmm.
and we are very conscious of that. And
Yes.
you see that in sculpture, you see that in even in Vermeers,
Mm-hmm.
or where light pierces in through windows, and it just elevates the artwork, diba?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we try to do that, and in some of the images that you scrolled through, which we did, you will see how rooms that people will always tend to think to be dark,
Mm-hmm.
like that room, one of the rooms in the Creekside house, and other houses that we've done, where the floor is in a charcoal gray finish, the windows are in black, the ceiling is in a dark walnut
Cladded.
finish,
Mm-hmm.
and furniture is in gray. But some of the images of this house, you'll see, in fact, even the living room is probably one of the most light filled. It's the other one of the most light filled
Areas.
living rooms that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
It really, sometimes it's not in the color, but it's how you allow light to be captured indoors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's something that is very important, I think, to architects, because light is our friend. It's different.
Yeah.
Iba dito sa Philippines. I mean, we really have to be careful also as architects, because like that one house that I showed you earlier, if we weren't careful enough, there would have been too much light inside and it would have been really hot.
Yes.
So there is a strong balance about having light filter in, and that and understanding where your house is situated and where your house is sited or oriented. No? So
Now since we've moved into the interiors this time, maybe we can take a short break by asking our audience member a very interesting question. We have a poll going on, and we just want to know what you guys are thinking. And of course, Architect and Brian are going to weigh in after. But we just want to know, which area of the home would you prioritize to make aesthetically beautiful? So, I mean, there are like, personally, I get really giggle with just one area, and I pour all of my creativity into that specific area. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers are also, homeowners and designers. So I want to know, like, which one of these three areas would you prioritize? So we have the kitchen, the living room and entertainment area, or bedroom and bathroom.
Three options.
Architect. Brian,
What?
sige, Brian. Three options.
Brian.
So,
yeah.
is it the kitchen? Is it your living room and entertainment area? Or is it the bedroom and bathroom?
Are you asking me as an end user or someone?
As an end user. As an end user first. End user muna.
I guess for me, as an end user, since my kitchen is an open kitchen, I see it every day. Parang it's connected to my dining and my living room. I would probably say kitchen.
But as modularity home, would you say otherwise?
Because I think the way I do business is, I try to put myself in clients' shoes.
In them, yes.
Yeah, so we actually started with kitchens, as Anthony knows. We brought in Scavolini, which is the biggest kitchen brand in Italy.
Yeah.
And I think it's consistent with what the end users are asking for nowadays. Like most people want a nice show kitchen. But of course, they also prioritize the back kitchen, which Anthony and I work on as well. And then little by little, people are also spending more time in their own bedrooms. So of course, they have to prioritize their bathrooms, which they use for themselves, their closets, and the entertainment area where you put like a nice library. And then maybe later on when we put some photos, we can discuss more about it. But this is the level of detail. When Anthony and I work together, we really work on finishes, colors, materials. His team is relatively not as big as other firms, and I think that happens for him. He still wants to be hands-on, but at the same time he empowers his team to be able to make decisions as well. So it's really a good balance when I work with Anthony and his team. Yeah. Sorry, napahaba. Anthony, go ahead.
No. Am I supposed to answer that?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Architect, how about you? Kitchen, living room, entertainment area, or bedroom and bath?
The funny thing is,
if
when I was
the
looking
client
at
only had budget to...
It's funny, but a lot of what we are doing now, you'll see 1 and 2 actually as a big conjoined space. We call it the great room now.
Yes.
The kitchen, the dining room, and the living room. I would imagine
flow into each other.
2/3 of the homes that we're doing just have that great room.
Yeah.
It's that. It's the great room. And we put in a lot of effort there, just choosing material, furniture, even the right type of windows. Yeah. And when you do that, and when you can virtually see the kitchen, and it becomes part of design.
Yeah.
Becomes part of design. I mean, I remember not long ago. I mean, we had still been asked to design kitchens that it's stuck in the house. That it really is stuck in the house. And but now I would say 90% or more the kitchens. People are very proud of their kitchens and want that visual relationship, if not physical relationship, between the dining living and the kitchen itself.
Yeah.
So there's that, not just the visual relationship with a glass door that can be separated. It's just a physical relationship. Do away with the glass door. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can we look at what our audience members are saying? Do you think you can flash the results? Oh, there you go. Interesting. Living room and entertainment area got 58%. So I guess yes, this is this agrees with what you're saying, architect. That I guess it's because this is where it's like it's a public space.
Yeah.
So to say, it's where people converge. It's where you entertain. It's what people see. It's what your guests see. It's where you spend most of your time in, and it makes sense that people would choose living room entertainment. I think kitchen you can consider to be a part of this because most layouts, as architect Anthony mentioned, like even our own home is that way. We have a great room where they're all just there,
Yeah.
and they're all right next to each other. All right, let's move on to a more practical part of our webinar. We have a lot of homeowners who are looking to see what their options are. And I think you, Brian, you'd be able to help me out most with this. I understand that each approach to designing a home is different. So let's delve into the details of what it's like to build a home today in these very strange times. Maybe you can tell us if you and architect Anthony Brian have worked on something recently. Like, how was that whole process?
I think for the kitchens, and Anthony, you can chime in, but
Go
most
ahead.
clients nowadays are more hands-on with the kitchen.
Okay.
Whereas before they didn't really delve into such detail.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're really looking into specific sinks that they want, if they want a single or a double sink, you know, specific location of appliances. Parang they're
Yeah.
more, in effect, they're more technical, and their wish list is more precise. I would get a client, which I think is probably Anthony's client as well. The client would send me a list of all the things that they're gonna put in the kitchen. Parang an
Mm-hmm.
inventory of, okay, I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna put these small appliances. Where can I store it? This particular example, if we can show the architecture first, is a project that I've worked with Anthony maybe a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice client, and you see the relationship of the exterior design or the architecture, these details. Which Anthony, you want to talk about this first before we get into
Yeah.
the.
If you look at the color palette, the material palette, and the lines of this particular project, the Celery Street Residence, um, when we ended up choosing materials for this, I talked to Brian. Brian, we have to be very consistent. Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
mean when you see what you see on the wood outside, I need the wood, at least the veneer of the wood in your kitchen, to be as close as possible to it.
Yeah.
Because the kitchen I knew was going to be open.
Mm-hmm.
And then even the type of charcoal gray, alam mo yan, Nikki, gray is not gray. When we look at
Yeah. There
tiles, there's a whole
there are more
level
than
of
50 shades.
it's it's a challenge sometimes
Yep.
for kitchen manufacturers or designers to actually have the right type of gray that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But even this door that we did, whose door handle I talked to you about the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, how easy would it be to look for a door handle? I mean, it should be difficult, right?
Yeah.
for some reason, it took me a couple of months to just find the right one because I needed one with a lot needed talaga. You know? I felt that I felt that it it needed a live edge portion where people could actually hold on to it and understand the natural
Mm-hmm.
quality of stone and not just the machine cut one. And add to that, we
Mm-hmm.
needed it to be the right shade because I wanted to carry it over to the kitchen where the kitchen countertop was also a particular shade. So yeah, it was just jumping from one warehouse, uh, jumping from one stone warehouse to the next until we found the right one. And yeah,
Wow.
it's fun. It's almost needle in a haystack kind of, but gets fun when you actually find it. Uh, yeah, we used what do we use here?
Are
We used lava stone for that particular uh, cladding wall.
so
Yeah, the
architect, are you this particular when it comes to the kitchen? Like I need I need this specific texture for this part of the cabinetry. Like are
If
you
you show the
that
kitchen
anal
that
as
we did
well
here,
or
yes, I am. I I I I can be only because it has to be the
Nikki,
case. I mean, yeah.
pag kitchen na pinag-uusapan, hindi na kami magkaibigan ni Anthony. Parang, parang sometimes you try to twist the architect. Oh, our architect, approve mo na to para matapos na tayo. Pero
Ito na lang.
hindi,
Yeah, yeah.
hindi kaya si Anthony. Parang even that ref, if you see it, I remember one night, I was relaxing watching TV. I get a text from Anthony, and whenever I get texts from, mga super architects, natatakot ako kinakabahan ako. So he texts me, "Hey Brian, how come this fridge is protruding too much?" Not this particular
Cold
project.
sweats.
Diba? Anthony, remember that? It's a different project.
Yeah, I know. I
So
was
I
like,
had
I gave
to,
you a hard time for that.
yeah, I had to call the client to actually replace the fridge. And eventually, the client is nice enough because he's the one who bought that fridge.
Yeah, we had to replace the fridge because it was
Yeah,
protruding out.
Mm-hmm.
he replaced it. So to that level of detail, and the design process is done. The client is
Wow.
already living in that house. Pero it still resonates to Anthony that the house has to be nice. So these small details. Parang
I
he's
remember that because we had a different ref that we considered, diba?
yes.
But it was
Pre-purchased.
exactly it was
Mm-hmm.
exactly what he got was exactly the same naman, Nikki, where it was the same height, the same width,
Mm-hmm.
but it was
Super.
just protruding out a little too much.
Yeah.
And and I went there and I had
You can't let it
wine
go,
and
of
cheese kami. I'm
course.
like, why is it like this? And then I texted Brian. But the client was nice enough to
Yeah.
have replaced it.
Yeah.
Because hindi ako
we
makatulog.
were talking about as or Valcocine, because I know you also have Valcocine, which is a completely different technology and art in itself, right?
Yes.
Like, can you, I have an architect, both Valcocine, maybe you can tell us what the difference.
Nikki, you're breaking up a little, but this particular kitchen in the photo was a Scavolini kitchen. With Scavolini, we're talking about different aesthetics, different personalities. Anthony's correct. You have to listen to the client and actually do some research. What is the personality of this client? That client is more serious. This client's a lawyer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So they wanted something
Mm-hmm.
more, a little bit more formal. Um, Scavolini can do the job. Parang later on, we'll show you some other photos. But Valcocine is a totally different animal, and we'll show some pictures also later on.
Mm-hmm.
Valcocine is more technological, I guess, and more technical in terms
Okay.
of materials and glass and aluminum. So it's a different philosophy altogether. These two companies are companies that I work with very closely, but they're not related to each other. They're two separate entities. Yeah.
Maybe we
I
can take a
love
look at these
Valcuccini.
photos. So
I
we
mean, Valcuccini
okay.
in the project that Brian and I are working on that's using Valcuccini. I told Brian, you know, the reason I wanted to use that particular brand was the kitchen itself was, you know when you have kitchens, Nikki, and you have splashboards,
Mm-hmm.
you want to choose just the right stone for the splashboard if it were stone, no, or tile,
Yes.
and it speaks a lot about the completeness of the design of the kitchen. And
Yes.
Brian shows me Valcuccini, and the splashboard is actually part of the working kitchen when you actually get, your glass, your decanter, your whatever it is, utensils for the
Mm-hmm.
kitchen on the splashboard itself. And I think it's the one behind me, tama ba?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
The one
it
behind.
was great
Yeah.
to actually have a functional solution to
Okay.
design, di ba? To aesthetics. It's great. It looks great, and uh, I enjoyed doing that kitchen a lot.
Yeah. So this photo um, just supports what we're trying to say. The photo on the right looks like
Mm-hmm.
a piece of, like a Pandora's box or glass box. Um,
Yeah.
it's actually called chelata, which means like a hidden helmet during the war. When I study
Mm-hmm.
the products, I'm like, I get inspired with people like Anthony because we have to know the soul behind the material or the technology behind it. This particular one, it folds upwards when you swipe your hand on the right. So when it opens up, you see, everything is hidden. The sink, the cooktop, and then as Anthony was pertaining to the whole splashboard, typically it's just a wall, right? But in this particular case, they made it a bit deeper and they put these mechanisms where there's a spice rack, there's outlets, you can do food preparation with a towel holder. So it's actually a chef's dream kitchen at home. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
clients, when we went to Valcucine, we met with the Portugal dealer, for example, of Valcucine. So they're the same as us. They sell Valcucine. Their clients were like Madonna, Elton John, and these people would actually cook in their Valcucine kitchen. So it's actually a dream kitchen for a lot of people. Yeah.
For
You know,
sure. It's
talking about
mine.
material, yung Valcuccine, one of the things that I remember, Brian,
Yeah.
yan, you may want to talk about that that glass countertop because
Yeah.
I
Do we
really
have
like
photos
that
of
glass.
that? Maybe we can
I
see.
really like that glass countertop.
We do. We should have some photos of this.
It's ano, it's
This is Valcocine.
Also
yeah,
Valcucine.
because
Okay.
you know, normally you'll Brian will ask me, Anthony, what kitchen countertop
Would
are
you
we
like?
making considerations for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is it going to be a leathered stone finish, or
Quartz.
is it going to be quartz? And then he comes up to me, hey Anthony, I have this glass countertop.
Glass.
Ano namang glass countertop yan?
Kala niya
So he
nagluluto.
shows me and does this demo, which was really cool, actually.
Yeah.
Good.
So
I
this,
wish we could see it. Do we have photos?
actually, Nikki, I'll send you sa WhatsApp a video, but
Okay, okay.
but this particular kitchen, we have it here in Manila. If you see the counter at the back, it's the same color as the doors or the drawers, right? That's actually
Yeah.
glass. Um, so typically,
Okay.
when clients come to the showroom, we tell them, okay, Valcucine, since it's in the Veneto region, it's known for glass near Venice. Um, Natatakot
Mm.
sila, why would I use glass as my countertop in the kitchen if I'm gonna chop, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna, do heavy stuff, right? When I prepare food. So what we do is we
That's right.
whip out a 2 kilogram steel ball and we actually slam it onto the glass countertop as our demo.
Wow.
Usually, pag kunwari,
Wow.
senior citizen yung client, sinasabi muna namin, oh, ma'am, huwag kayo magulat kasi we're gonna drop a, steel on the countertop.
Yeah.
So that's the actual demo. And when we went to Italy, before we started working with this company, we had the um, same sentiments, right? Glass countertop, nakakatakot. But after they showed us that, and actually the owner and the founder of Art+chitecture is a chemical engineer. He would really study how to treat the glass well and how to make it,
Mm-hmm.
virtually indestructible. We have a
So it's proprietary to them. Huh?
Yeah. It's
Ah.
not just the glass, Anthony. When you
The
open
glass, I mean,
you
yeah.
take out the drawers, parang it has steel supports under. Super technical.
May hamon nga si si Brian dun sa steel ball na dinadrop. If you break the glass, you get a free kitchen.
Wow!
Baka maniwala, Brian. Masubo ka.
Okay, so now we were talking about kitchen, and obviously Scavolini Valcucine has provided us with so many beautiful, amazing options. But architect, you know this, appliances are some, or most of the time, an eyesore, and designers typically put this in an appliance garage. Brian, you have a solution for this, right? Like I know that you have range hoods. Range hoods are sometimes an eyesore, but you have managed to fix this. Maybe you can tell us more about the range hoods that you have.
Sure. So we work with this brand called Elica, and I think I presented this to you, Anthony. Elica makes hoods for 90%, 95% of the industry. So when we went to the Elica factory in Italy, we'd see all these crazy hoods that they build for different brands, right? But then they have this showroom or a section in Elica where they develop range hoods that are proprietary to them, owned to them alone. So they branded Elica. So we decided to work with them, and we decided to bring in these unique hoods. Typically, hoods are very industrial. It's an afterthought. If it's on the island, parang it's an eyesore. But the hoods that you see here, parang they're really beautiful. We're trying to somewhat relate it to art. It's not really an art piece, but it's a conversation piece. Like this particular hood, which is the typical reverse T, comes with soft lines, with different materials, whether it be copper or gunmetal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I know, and this is really nice. I think Brian and I are using this for one project.
Nice.
But in some of the projects I've worked with Brian on, I know Elica also has hoods that you actually don't see, which is great. Sometimes when a space, I thought this extractor is perfect. I mean, this extractor, it's just you don't have anything hanging down from the ceiling, and you don't want that. Then you can use this, or what do we call that, Brian? The downdraft hoods.
This
like
one,
that.
We call it Cloud9. It's flushed into the ceiling, so
it's called an extractor, na? Tama?
It's an extractor or a range or an aspirator. Basically, it's the flip of a drain, right? So in the bathroom, you have a drain, then the water all goes into the drain. In this particular case, you put it in your ceiling, and all the smoke will be, sucked into that spot. So there's a science also behind how far the hood should be, and where you should locate it. But for architects and designers, they love this because it's not an eyesore. Parang it's just there in the ceiling. And as Anthony was saying, the alternative in case the ceiling is super high is a downdraft hood. So you see in this photo, this downdraft hood, which we've used in several projects, is flushed into your countertop. And then when you press the button, it comes up. So instead of the smoke going up, it goes behind the induction cooktop into that downdraft hood. Of course, on the technical aspect, we'd have to understand, is there a basement? Where will the smoke go?
Yeah.
Or are we just going to recirculate the air? So yeah, that's the downdraft hood.
It's as if every range hood has a personality to match. And
Yeah,
speaking of personality, maybe we can just go back to the Scavolini kitchens, like just how we were talking about how important it is to listen to your clients and to really kind of get to know their personality. And maybe Brian, you can just walk us through like how far we can go in terms of like really matching a personality
yeah,
with a Scavolini kitchen.
sure. I really don't want to go through all the models because there's like 50 different models in the Scavolini line.
Mm-hmm.
And with Scavolini, each model is a collaboration either internally in their group or externally. Like in this particular case, this is designed by Jujaro, who's actually a car designer. So here
Mm-hmm.
in the Philippines, a lot of car enthusiasts would know who Jujaro is, or people who watch Back to the Future. They designed the DeLorean. Um, so this particular kitchen would match that kind of client, like someone who's into cars.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they want these sexy lines.
Yeah.
So this is a kitchen that looks artistic and would match that particular personality.
Yeah.
Hindi ko alam kung si Anthony, parang if he would use something like this.
Is
I would. There are instances where we do sexy lines, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
depends on the client.
Yeah, because Cavallini
depends
sometimes
on the design. Yeah.
they Scavolini sold in like 1,000 different showrooms worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So they really have to come up. They have to push the envelope, and they have to come up with interesting like new designs
Yeah.
to be able to reach the market. Right. There's so many beautiful kitchen brands in Italy that each brand has to have its own unique personality or unique models. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is in contrast with like some clients would want something more country or more industrial.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is a very interesting collaboration between Mr. Scavolini, Walter Scavolini, who owns the brand, and
Mm-hmm.
Renzo Rosso, who owns Diesel, um, the fashion brand. So they worked together and they created this kitchen called the Social Kitchen. Um,
Social kitchen.
Yeah. So here in the Philippines, we've had clients who are either from the coffee industry or from the hardware industry, and then they're building their homes and they want something more robust or more
Mm-hmm.
industrial. So that particular look um, really resonated to them. They really like this particular look.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays, Anthony, you told me that you guys are building a lot of houses by the beach. It could also be like a nice aesthetic for that particular purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
It
Maybe we
it,
can see
it
if
looks like a standard. It looks like a standalone kitchen. It can be,
Yeah.
diba? Parang it
Parang,
stands out on its own.
yeah,
Diba?
they don't
Parang,
want it. I guess they don't want it to look like a kitchen. That's why it has
yeah.
legs and it has all
Yeah.
these cornices and they use.
Oh, does it, or is that a kick plate pa din?
It has a kick plate that's
Uh-huh.
in drip metal. So
Uh-huh. Okay.
and then it has legs on the left and on the right.
Yeah.
Para it looks more.
okay, I see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then you look at the
Mhm.
handles. These are like old, 60s, 50s style filing cabinet doors.
Yeah.
So so they're really into these small current details. Yeah.
Scavolini actually has more than one type of kick plate, right? Because you used a very unique one on mine.
Really.
Yes, it wasn't stainless steel. It was
It parang
something
bronze.
else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and you're studying to become an interior designer. So you see these details and you know
Yeah.
that's the type of clients or architects or designers that we really want to work with. You appreciate the difference in details because it's so easy in our industry for another kitchen maker to make beautiful renderings.
Yeah.
But then the actual product is totally different from, the renderings, right? That's the drawback of SketchUp and these renderings. Sometimes you can misconstrue the truth, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's a long
Mm-hmm.
conversation. But
Yeah.
minsan nadadaan sa rendering.
Yeah, totoo. All right, well let's move from the kitchen to other more personal spaces, like the bathrooms, bedrooms, and other areas that need cabinetry. Maybe you can walk us through this, Brian.
Sure.
Yeah, we want to see your Bianca stuff.
Yeah. So this one is more
Yeah.
live. Remember in the poll, 58% would say they want to spend money
Their
on
living
or design.
entertainment area.
Yeah. So this is an example of a freestanding Bianca unless system, where it's a library system from floor to ceiling. It serves as a divider between two spaces, whether dining, living, or kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think it's pretty unique because not a lot of people would put something like this in their homes.
Yeah.
And we were discussing with Anthony in our pre-meetings, and he would also talk about how to style these things, right, Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very important because
Well, what you put in those shelves, architect, right?
it is what you put in those shells are just as important as the shelf itself. Di ba?
What
Yeah.
what
So,
would you not put in there, architect?
you
Just
really
out of
have it.
curiosity.
It really is you have to find a balance, Nikki, because you cannot take away the personality of a
Yeah.
home and just dress it up too much.
Yes.
And that defeats the purpose of designing.
Mm-hmm.
You're designing for particular people who aspire a particular lifestyle. But sure, you do that. However, there is still who they are. And if they
Yeah.
are this, and this, they read these types of books, put it out there for them to easily pull out when they need to. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a particular way of styling each uh, these uh,
Area.
these
Mm-hmm.
display cabinets. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
and color
it's
helps. I try to
mm-hmm.
make the color of the books as
Yeah.
complement each other as much
Because
Yeah, for
as much as
sure.
possible.
in the catalogs they look perfect. Like in this
Yeah.
particular photo, the living room opens up to the dining room. Then in the dining room, you see that display case at the back. Um,
Mm-mm.
you have to make it in the catalogs. They put like one color lang. It looks so neat and
Uniformed and yes.
yeah. But then even if client sees this, and it won't translate to the same aesthetic once it's in their house if they don't practice restraint, which is a
Yeah.
keyword that Anthony talked about. Um, so the designer really plays a big part
Yeah.
in guiding.
But I know once they, the nice thing is when they see the final product and you actually start uh, accessorizing, no, Nikki, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, putting objects on shelves, and even more on a functional level when you get to the kitchen and you put things on the upper cabinet, the upper glass cabinets, and they see it all in crystal, they'll keep
Mm-hmm.
it that way.
Yeah.
They'll know it because once they put something odd there, one or two, you'll see it, and
It's
they'll be the
off-putting.
first ones to take it out.
Yes.
Diba? So you just leave them a house, turn over a house that's well designed, and they understand well enough for the most part to
Mm-hmm.
keep it as it is. Uh,
Yeah.
And aesthetically pleasing storage is such a huge
yeah,
part of this.
absolutely. It helps. See,
Mahirap.
this is what I'm saying, on Tinamo, Brian. I mean, the books are all of different colors, and you can
Yeah.
virtually get uh, an understanding that, you know, whoever lives in a room like this, whatever books he or she or their family chooses to have, they can put it in there and still look great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
So
not
this
for
is
it's not for everyone. But so like
mhm.
in this particular case, you can combine some closed doors with some open
Yeah.
doors,
Yeah.
some open shelving with some closed ones. Some are
Mhm.
in glass, some are not. So the weird stuff maybe.
Oh yeah, yesterday meron akong, we were making a presentation of exactly something like this. And
Yeah.
we were like, we had open shelves and we told them what we would be putting there. We told them we would be putting their own things because they're very tasteful naman yung clients then.
Yeah.
And then, realizing their kids played a lot of yung mga PS4 and stuff. Sabi ko, okay,
Consoles.
maglalagay tayo ng cabinet dyan. Kasi those things are gonna get hidden. For
Yep.
sure. Yeah.
Speaking of hidden stuff, let's move on to a more private part of the house, which is the bathroom and wardrobes. Are you just as particular architect with keeping these aesthetically pleasing, or do you cut that more slack and oh, okay.
No. I think the clients cut us slack because
Okay.
they know that we want to make the bedrooms and the bathrooms well designed too.
Mm-hmm.
So they cut us slack. And then they know, see, go ahead, Anthony, let's see what you can do. And then bathrooms are a really big part of the house now.
Yeah.
I mean, people spend a lot of time in bathrooms. It's not just your loo or your shower area. People just have sometimes walk-in closets are a room on its own, really
Yes.
virtually a room on its own. People have spent many hours there. So
Yep.
yeah, it needs to be well designed if you're going to be spending time there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I
And
think
these, Brian, are Bianca?
this is Scavallini bathrooms.
Scavallini, okay.
And I think nowadays like we actually use it. We use it every day, but now we use it for 3, 4, 5 times a day because we're at
Yeah.
home. So, you know, people really think of what things they actually put inside. How is it going to be convenient to have storage now in the bathroom rather than just having like a concrete slab with a sink, right? So these
Yeah.
days, people are more aware. Okay, these mirrors on top, they're actually not just mirrors, but they're also medicine cabinets. So
Mm-hmm.
they disappear into the design, but it still has to be functional. Parang it's still a combination of design and function.
Yeah. And for some, I know Scavallini offers an option, there you go, of extending the purpose of your bathroom to a gym.
We, Nikki, do I texted you about this? Sabi ko, Nikki,
I
gusto mo ba
said, I
mag-exercise?
want this.
Alam
Can
mo,
you?
Brian, in my house, the gym there, it's small gym, is beside the walk-in closet.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
beside
it
my
makes
walk-in closet.
sense.
I mean, I literally don't have to wear gym clothes anymore. I'm just gonna, sometimes nakapajama pa ako. I just
Are you
go to
getting a
gym.
lot of requests,
Actually,
architect, for home gyms?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Especially over the last year, the newer homes,
Yeah.
these pandemic homes. Yes, you put as much in the house now as you possibly can because the house has become so different from what we knew it to be
Yeah.
pre-pandemic. Houses where we used to all eat out a lot. Now we just
Same.
cook a lot now.
Yes.
Diba? The house is our office. The house is our kids' schools.
School.
The house is our place of worship. The house is pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Place to entertain.
Yeah.
But going back to the bathroom, we
Mhm.
have designed previously, even pre-pandemic bathrooms where just bathrooms and walk-in closets to bleed into each other. It's just one big space.
Yeah.
It's just one big space. But now it's getting even more fun where the bathrooms and the closets actually bleed into the bedroom. So it's really one big space if you consider the bedroom as
Yeah.
part of that space. So there's almost a blurred there are almost blurred lines between between the walk-in closet and the bedroom now, and
Yeah.
the walk-in closet bleeds into the wet area of the whole bathroom, so of the whole space. So it's great when we can do that now.
I think it's quite common that, walk-in closets now, should have air conditioning because a lot of people spend a
Yes.
lot of time there. Um, and like this particular space looks like a room in itself. Parang looks like a room where you can, hang out and meditate and do yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and your clothes is actually just there, in beautiful cabinetry or beautiful closets. So, I think a lot of people now, based on my experience, would really invest not only in the kitchen but also in these personal spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Architect.
it's you know there are some houses we've done where there are two walk-in closets for the master's bedroom, and one is designed differently than the other because we're dealing with two different people. So
Mm-hmm.
it sometimes is like that. Yeah, you were saying, Nikki.
I just wanted to know your personal preference. Are you for open shelving in the closet
I
or for closed doors?
Oddly enough, Brian and I are working on a house where they want all the cabinets for the walk-in closets to be open. And
Mm-hmm.
I am actually I actually like that if all your clothes are white or black,
Yeah.
diba? Or all
Yes.
your shoes are white or black. It never happens that way. So I always try to caution them because it really does look good in pictures. But I always still insist on a few areas that are closed when
Yes.
it comes to that now, because
Mm-hmm.
I like it. All your white shirts are out or your black suits are out, and then just leave it like that. But everything that's red or green goes in the shuttered cabinet. Yeah.
Unless you have the entire Zara collection, best to keep it closed. Yeah, but these are gorgeous though. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
those are great. And if you notice, I asked Brian to do this, but if you notice, some of the open systems, Nikki, have
Mhm.
ano yan, Brian, vertical supports,
Yeah. Yeah. So
right?
like
This
most
particular system I'm asking Brian to do for one of our projects doesn't have vertical supports.
yeah. So this is
Mm,
the Antiprima Closet by Bianca. And it's really open. Parang you have the supports actually behind the wall. And then
mhm.
you hang these different accessories like the shoe holders or the drawers, or the hanger rods. Parang it all goes into the system. Parang Lego.
Nice.
Yeah.
I see. I see.
Diba? It doesn't feel cut up. It feels much more open.
You
That's
can
right.
put more stuff also because of that. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, if that doesn't convince our viewers who are planning their homes now, I don't know what will. But again, thank you for an enlightening and insightful discussion, Architect and Brian. I think I want to use the rest of our time to kind of uh, give our viewers an opportunity to ask their own questions. I think we already have a couple that have come in. So again, if any of you, our dear viewers, if you have any questions, feel free to just send them in the chat box. We will try to answer as much as we can. Um, all right, we have our first question. Maybe I can start with my question.
Okay.
We have a lot of students watching also architect for sure, and I just want to know what is your um, and I always ask this: what is your design pet peeve? if
Is
there's
my
one
design
in
pet peeve?
particular or if there are many, like something that
Yeah,
really from up and comings or from new architects, something that
I
they
don't know how
do.
I can verbalize this, but one of my pet peeves really is you know when where there's a transition between two different materials and you
Mm-hmm.
don't and you don't
Terminate it properly.
terminate it properly. I just can't. I know. It's something that in my office is thought out before stuff gets done. Whether it's an inside corner or an outside corner or just
Or a
material to
T.
material, those things are thought out either with a strip or a groove. Those things are very important. Just
Yes, yes.
transitioning your eye to different textures or different colors,
Mm-hmm.
or even even just the same material, just transitioning from a corner. That's very sometimes sometimes people don't think about that as something important, but it is. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hello? Am I
Nikki,
okay,
you're
there
good.
you go. All right. Okay. Thank you, architect. We have another question. This one is coming from an anonymous attendee. I particularly love that non-glass house with the perforated steel veins. How were you able to balance the beauty and function with practicability? How do you even clean or maintain something that's designed that way?
Well,
Where did we see this?
I think the question would be how easy is it to main how easy is it to maintain a house like that? One, no? But it should be easy. It's those things are aluminum. Uh, those things are made of aluminum. It's really power washing them.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm,
but as far as the glass is concerned, and I always tell our clients, when your house is done, we're going to really clean your glass with squeegee and spray that with nano coating just to make sure those the glass doesn't have watermarks.
mm-hmm.
So it's you have to do that. Otherwise, any glass surface, especially sometimes we end up having
We
glass surfaces that are not vertical, that are slightly
yes.
horizontal, that allows more rain to go through it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's very important to do. At least I feel that now.
Okay, we have another question. This is again coming from an anonymous attendee. How can you reconcile artistic design and practicality? I'm usually afraid to use high ticket items, but I'm very worried about maintenance and after service. Oh, I think Brian, you can weigh in on this also.
Mhm.
So how can you reconcile artistic design and practicality? I'm usually afraid to use high ticket items, but I'm very worried about maintenance and after service.
We don't always, at least from my office's standpoint, um, people have asked me, uh, about us doing high-end architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I keep high-end residences. I keep telling them we
Mm-hmm.
don't do high-end residences. We do custom residences. We
Custom.
don't have to we don't have to use uh, big ticket items. We don't have to use stone that's imported. We don't have to use stone for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to paint it for that matter at one point
Mm-hmm.
or other. It really is choosing the appropriate material for a particular design. So it's not how much you know this project, for instance, that we're showing here. Um, yeah, case in point, right above that canopy is just a roof filled with glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I know because this is going to be turned over soon, and that was about the time when I visited. I told the project manager, okay, it's probably time to clean it and put nano coating on it. So yeah, that's what they're doing right now. So it's understanding the appropriateness of materials. If you're going to put glass, please, by all means, put nano coating and just
Yes.
do away with those watermarks. So, however, also, Nikki, one of the things that's always been asked is how easy it is to maintain. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
just like painting your house, hindi naman po pwedeng when you have your house painted and when your contractor is done, you have to repaint your house one way or
Yeah.
another, right? So that's what we always tell them. You have to take care of your house also.
Yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
understand because like we were also we recently just finished renovating our home, and a lot of our decisions were also wag na lang because baka mahirap linisin, or it was more of like an issue of how do we sustain this and make this nice forever. But so
No.
architect, you're saying once they turn it over, we're gonna have to do our part and make
Yeah,
sure
that
that
it's all part of it. I mean,
yeah.
it's all part of it. It's not like I'm not a homeowner. I know what it takes to. I'm having my house repainted. I have to deal with that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like
even
don't be
during this
afraid.
crisis. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to. I mean, there are materials, however, like in that previous project, you know, um, the wood that we use there, that really is zero maintenance, and
Yeah.
that's real wood.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes with a cost though, and
Yeah.
the question was right. Um, One of the things is cost. If we were to actually address the same architecture, um, and having to be dealt with, Anthony, we actually don't have a budget for that. I would have used a different material.
Mm-hmm.
I would have
Mm-hmm.
used a different material. I have to be realistic and pragmatic that clients have a particular budget, and we
Yes.
design around that, diba?
Yes. Yes.
And however, for that particular project, the one I talked to you about, na may canopy, he was particular about maintenance. Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
gusto ko as little maintenance as possible. Um, and even the walls inside that house are all tiles,
Mm-hmm.
hindi wallpaper. So we had to choose tiles. Those there are tiles now that stretch 3.5 meters high, diba?
Yes.
So had to do that, and
Mm-hmm.
all you have to do is use a damp cloth. You don't have to repaint it. You don't have to
Yeah.
replace the wallpaper. Now you just have
Mm-hmm.
tiles. Unless,
All
of
right.
course, nasawa siya sa tile, di ba? So,
Yes, medyo
papalitan
mahirap
yung buong
palitan
tile.
yon. All right, architect, a while ago you were talking about the importance of playing with light and shadows in the architecture of the home. Can you we have a question from an anonymous attendee asking how important lighting design is in your interior design process. So I suppose
It's
this has to do with artificial
supremely,
light.
it's absolutely important.
Okay.
It not just natural light plays a huge role in our design process and understanding how we can admit natural light into the home. But 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. onwards, there's no natural light. We have to think
Yeah.
about that also. And uh, it's great because technology allows for a lot of things now in our
Mm-hmm.
home where, um, you have recessed track lights that
Mm-hmm.
just you almost practically do not see. And we involve ourselves in the design of uh, artificial
Mm-hmm.
lighting paintings, wall washers, even if there are no paintings, just
Mm-hmm.
washing the walls with light or lighting up the walls from the ground.
Are
It,
you
it it's
particular
part
about
of.
that?
Mhm.
Are you particular architect about even the temperature of the
Of
light?
course, yes.
Okay.
Eesh. Yeah, I actually had a discussion with a client the other week where he insisted on having
Daylight.
daylight, or at least one bulb in his in each room to have that 5,000 Kelvin. I'm like,
No,
No,
no, no, no,
no,
no.
yeah, no. So yeah, because it always stems from people thinking that white light is brighter. It's actually not. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, right? It's actually not. And some, I always tell them, look, but I always make a concession, Nikki, no?
Mm-hmm.
People now work at home, and people
Yes.
sometimes, you have to, while you respect their private space, I tell them, you allow me to actually design it for you, and
Mm-hmm.
please understand that it will be a more soothing, relaxing space if we did a particular color temperature. But okay, for the office, maybe we'll have
Shoffer lights.
no, no truffle, but those uh,
Fluorescent.
the table mounted lights in the 5,000 Kelvin. There
Okay, to
are
keep
there are
everyone
not that
awake.
there are naman that you can change the color temp, diba, from 3,000 to 5,000 with a
Yes, yes.
swivel. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's as much compromise that I will do.
All right. We have a question. I think Brian, you'd be the best person to answer this. It's a little straightforward. How much budget do you get to prepare for constructing a streamlined modular cabinetry for kitchen and walk-in closet?
Hirap na question to, ha.
Gusto ko
Mahirap.
din malaman yan.
Yeah.
Tanong ng bayan.
Ah,
No, the budget depends on the space, on the
Mm-hmm.
size of each space. Because kitchen is different from a closet, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be irresponsible for me to come up with a figure, you know,
Yeah.
from nothing. With Scavolini, kasi there's a wide range, right? Some people would give us a budget actually, and we
Mm-hmm.
work with that budget. Whereas other people would tell us to design a space with no budget in mind. So
Yeah.
that's actually the challenge also when it comes to designing these spaces. Anthony and I always discuss, like he would tell me, okay, this client, I need more information. He would tell
Yeah.
me the type of client that he has, and then we would choose the brand or the model that we would use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really difficult to come up with a general budget for such a thing.
Can you give us a percentage? Because I'm gonna link this to another question. Where does modular cabinetry fall into the home building budget, in your opinion? Like, how
I
much of
must
your budget you set
I'm not
aside?
that familiar kasi with the overall budget of the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my scope, eh. But I would compare it to maybe the price of the whole lot and the actual house, for example, right? You see the
Mm-hmm.
villages nowadays, they range from 300,000 per square meter to, I don't know, 500,000 per square meter. And then you
Mm-hmm.
multiply that by 500 square meters or 1,000 square meters. So you kind of have an idea how much the lot costs, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first step. This is like insider information. That's the first step in our, probing in terms of, okay, how much budget will the client allocate to this particular, house for the kitchen, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the client comes to us and then the objective is build and sell, it's a different topic altogether. If it's a
Mm-hmm.
condominium and they're looking at the overall price of the condominium, they're going to use it for 2 years and then they're going to sell it. They're not I'm not going to recommend that they invest too much in the kitchen. So
Yeah.
it's really situational, in terms of what budget or what percentage they would invest in, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the political answer.
All right. Thanks, Brian. We have another question coming from Bea Chong. She says, how do you find the importance of making spaces timely and relevant while preserving the fundamental expression of heritage?
Yan, si Anthony yan, malalim yan. Hindi
wow.
ko kaya.
Say that again. Ano? Say
Okay,
that
let
again,
me let
Nikki.
me try also to decode. Okay. How do you find the importance of making spaces timely and relevant while preserving the fundamental expression of heritage? I
I,
guess this
I, I don't
has
know
to
if
do with your Lee Sotzman involvement with Lee Sotzman about
yeah. Well,
preserving.
to a large degree, I think maybe we can help her uh, by answering it this way. Now, if we start talking about heritage, the space would have already been built.
Mm-hmm.
The space would have already been built, and to respect the heritage is to actually do a lot of research and understand uh, how it was designed. But and you have to understand that I came from a firm then that made sure everything was designed period correct.
Mm-hmm.
Even the materials that we chose, the type of materials for a brownstone house, it had to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
But for, I don't know if she said timeless or timely. Um, for interior spaces, when we do it, um, it really smacks on the personality of the homeowner, really,
Mm-hmm.
that we're designing for. We
Yes.
have literally been asked um, to design spaces with just, one chair in the middle of the room,
Yeah.
because it was just meant to be a room for him to meditate. It's really just
Mm-hmm.
one chair. Sabi
Yeah.
ko, don't you even want to share the room with your wife? Sabi
At
niya,
least a couch,
di ba?
a
Sabi ko,
two-seater.
at least gusto mo dalawa? No, he just wanted one and a chair. I mean, it
Yeah.
is what is asked of us, and it depends on what the purpose of the room is.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, there's not even a TV in that room. It's just looking out to something, and I can appreciate that.
Yes,
And I
yes.
actually can appreciate that. People just
Yeah.
need that time away from everyone. And we
Mm-hmm.
have to design a room uh, in those types of considerations.
Yeah, as parang it's part of your job as an architect to accept the different idiosyncrasies of all your
Mm-mm.
clients, no?
Uh-uh. But it has to be a good fit. Huh? A
Yeah.
client and an architect, or a client and interior designer, has to be a good fit.
Yeah.
You have to research each other, whether you can,
Mm-hmm.
whether you can work with each other really well.
All right, architect. This one is a very interesting question. I like this. This is coming from Alfonso Datuin. As an aspiring architect studying in the Philippines, how big of a gap should be covered in terms of grit and devotion to our craft, as compared to the likes, uh, such as yourself, architect Nazareno, who experienced foreign architectural education?
I'm not sure. How would you phrase that question?
I think architect, what he's asking is how do they
What does the gap mean?
how big of a gap should be covered in terms of grit and devotion? How much harder should they work?
Ah,
Because seeing as, I mean, I don't know if this is kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
like a
yeah.
dig at the architectural educational institution here in the Philippines, but there be I basically what he's saying is that there is a gap, as opposed to like if he studied abroad like yourself.
I'll have to tell you. I'll have to tell you, Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
One of some of the most well-respected, some of my favorite architects from the Philippines have studied in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Respect those institutions that you
Yeah.
are studying in.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
the, um, the schools here are pretty good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the schools here are pretty good. Um, I mean, I've been involved with LaSalle only
Mm-hmm.
because my family is very close to the Christian Brothers. But other than my involvement in DLSUD College of Engineering and Architecture, CSB is a pretty good school.
Mm-hmm.
College of Saint Benilde. Um, uh, I always liken CSB to being as close to to studying in a culture with uh, the critique culture, because I've been
Mm-hmm.
invited there a couple of times to do crits
Mm-hmm.
and critiques. And when I go to, and it's not just CSB. When I go to, let's just pretend in CSB, the, when you're in a design school, just creativity bounces off the walls
Yeah.
unbelievably.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to CSB, the different floors are of different departments. There's fashion, there's animation, there's
Mm-hmm.
architecture. Regardless of what floor you're at, and they start hanging their stuff and their ideas, you can't help but stop and then
Mm-hmm.
just look at their work and then just imbibe it and digest it. And it's great to be going there as an architect already. What more if you were your students? I mean,
Yeah.
you bounce ideas off each other. It's great. I mean, again, that gap is very, very minuscule.
Yeah.
Honestly, Nikki, I started off f- fiddling my fingers here, waiting for project. That was already mid 1990s, when there was supposed to be a booming tiger economy.
Mm-hmm.
I had it was pretty difficult those first 2 years.
Yeah.
I needed, my first project was my dad's house. My next
Mm-hmm.
was my in-laws' house, and then the next, it was all family. But
Yeah.
you needed to make sure you did really good work.
Yeah.
It again is all in the end product.
Mm-hmm.
Grit, determination, perseverance are all very, very important. I mean, I ha- I think I had that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was not it was not spoon fed to me. It was
Yeah.
not spoon fed. I My first couple of years here, we were just really scraping the bottom of the barrel, and
Yeah.
everyone was. I feel like, why does everyone have projects? We don't. It was like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
So
get it.
it
Mm-hmm.
it was what Alfonso is saying. I don't know if he's still in school when he starts. I was the
Yes.
same way.
Same
I was the
starting
same
point,
way. Yeah.
regardless of where you finished.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Okay,
think
thanks, architect. This one, yes, go ahead, Brian.
Rita has a follow-up question that's related to that. Rita Nazareno.
Go
My
ahead, Brian.
sister.
Jim
My
Jennings
sister
had
who
an
is in
impact.
Hawaii.
Nanonood siya. Jim Jennings had an impact on you while you were a student. Would you teach at CCA or any school here in Manila? Which one?
If I taught,
Kung,
that was ano,
yeah.
no? If
He's
I
asking
if
if you
I
want to
taught
teach.
in any school, where would I teach?
Yeah.
I would teach at CSB, College of
Mm-hmm.
St. Benilde, uh, architecture. I just think I think I answered it in the previous question that I would liken the way CCA teaches to how they do it there. They have a terrific program there. They have a terrific program, I have to say. And not just because I'm close to the LaSalle brothers, but they really do.
Mm-hmm.
Si-sit-in na lang kami ni Nikki pag teacher ka na doon.
Yeah.
Sana
But
via
not
Zoom.
to ano I mean I have a lot of a very diverse uh, personalities here in my office that come from everywhere. UP, UST, they're all top notch. I mean, you can't knock on the schools and can't compare schools here to the schools in the States.
Yeah.
The only, I think to a large degree, the only difference almost for me, if I talk about CCA and the CSB, is the plane ride going to CCA and
Mm-hmm.
the car ride to CSB. I mean, it could virtually be that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, architect, we have a question. Oh, but this one is for Brian. But I think you can weigh in on this also, architect. Brian, they're asking, can modular design limit architectural design individuality? won't it lead to more repetitive designs?
Um, Baka carpintero yung nagtanong niyan, Anthony. No. I think you would have to research like the brands that we carry. Like if you check modularityhome.com, you'll see, the parang the possibilities are infinite, right? In effect, we complement architecture or we complement interior designers. Um, we really have to understand the look or the aesthetic that they're going for, and then we use that as canvas or as a guideline to design our own cabinetry. It's really a collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't think it limits or makes things repetitive. There's like thousands of different colors. This particular photo, you see marble cubes handmade into an 8 centimeter drawer. These are small things, but it's super custom, right? So it really doesn't limit designs for different houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because my passion really is to make sure, or my objective is to make sure that no two houses look alike,
Yeah.
whether magkapatid or hindi, diba? Because in the Philippines, everyone knows everyone, right? So it's really difficult.
All right. Thanks, Brian. This one last question is for Architect Anthony. I'm gonna cut the. It's actually coming from one person, but three questions. I'm gonna move to the last question. This is coming from Bernalia Alibuyog. She says, "What do you hate most about work, and what do you like most about what you do?"
Oh, that's a really great question. What I like most is that I'm completely still surprised that people pay me to do the thing that I love doing the most.
Mm-hmm.
What I hate about it is I don't have enough hours to do it. I mean, I could virtually do this uh, anytime. I mean, even in my own private time, it's still about architecture and design. When you kind of your own private time, our own private time now is kind of looking at Instagram. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about architecture still. It's all about design, and it's not because it's my job, but because I really
Live and breathe it.
enjoy it. I really enjoy it. It could, and it doesn't. You know, it's not just about architecture for me. It's even furniture and carpets. I follow all sorts of stuff on Instagram. But that's what I enjoy most. That
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually doing what I love doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I tell my kids and anyone who has a kid. Let them do what they want to do because in my family, I'm really the only architect. There's no one to actually uh, guide me through
Mm-hmm.
being in the profession. I mean,
Yeah.
I can say my sister, my Rita, and even my mom are very artistic, uh, but there was no architect to actually guide me through
Or
my
bounce
earlier
ideas off
my
of.
my earlier years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what you love. Should I even ask
Yeah.
what you don't love about it? No more na. I think we'll end with that.
What I did answer that, Nikki. What I don't like is that I have very limited time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I have very limited time to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
really have to have a healthy. What this pandemic taught me is I valued family time
Yeah.
even more now. I mean, pre-pandemic, I was busy as anything. I mean, I was thinking, before March of last year, I was thinking, gosh, how am I gonna slow down? I need time with my kids because my kids were gonna go to the States na. Mag-aaral na sila eh.
Mm-hmm.
College na. So I wanted to have some time with them. They're here now, homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
And I value that. I just, I value that and I have that good work-life balance now. And I know that I can only do so much because I don't want
Yeah.
to disrupt that work-life balance anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
value the time with my kids and my wife And yeah, and I've told the clients, um, I guess to my partner's dismay, yeah, we can work with you, but we'll have to push it a little bit in terms of
Yeah.
timeline because I can't be taking in so much.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right.
that's the sad part about it, but all good.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much once again, Architect Anthony, for sharing your time with us. I'm sure you're very busy, but your
Always great
insight
talking to you,
your
Nikki and
insight
Brian.
is invaluable. I'm sure all of our viewers, students, homeowners, and industry practitioners uh, learned a lot from this talk. I know I have. And Architect Anthony, is there anything you'd like to say to your many fans
Oh my
who are
gosh,
tuned in
are you
right
actually
now?
talking to the right person? I don't know if you're referring to me.
No,
Baka
just a
biglang,
few parting words.
Nikki,
Baka mabiglang
baka
mapakanta
biglang
si
kumanta, baka biglang
Architect,
kumanta yan eh.
Not really,
who was a
just
member of Conderana, will have you know.
yeah. That's a different. That
Oh, a
was a
different
lifetime
webinar
ago. That was
altogether.
yeah. I know. Maybe we'll do a performing arts seminar one of these days. But again, do what you love doing. It was a great last question. Um, and yeah, I've always told my kids that because that's what my parents did. They didn't nag me to be in the family business. They told me to do what I love doing. And for some reason, they were able to and guide your kids, guide each other, find it,
Yeah,
find what you love doing.
find
It's
it.
right there. Yeah.
Find it. It's right there. Thank you once again, Architect Anthony. Of course, let's also thank Modularity Home for
Yes,
bringing
Brian.
us
Thank
all
you.
together today. They're the reasons why these conversations get better and better each time. Brian, anything you'd like to say before we wrap things up?
Sure. Nikki, thank you again for doing such a great job hosting. We share the same passion for design, and I appreciate you doing this for us. Anthony, as I said earlier, we wanted to invite you for numerous times already, and finally you're here. I've learned so much about you. We've talked so many times, but then these things they come out because of this format, and I think it's a good way to share things about you, your practice, how you think, your philosophy to the members who are watching today. So thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you to the people attending today on Zoom, on Facebook. Um, we'd like to continue doing this. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I hope we're imparting, knowledge and information to you guys, which is not really self-serving. Um, so thank you for your time, and we hope to see you again in the next episodes.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Once again, thank you, Architect Anthony Nazareno, and thank you to
Again,
our
a pleasure.
audience as well for listening into our conversation. We hope that you join us again for our next episode, which is coming very soon. I know a lot of you threw in some questions. We unfortunately weren't able to answer all of them, but please reach out to Modularity Home and to Nazareno Guerrero Design Consultancy if you have any more technical questions. I'm sure they will be more than happy to address those. All of the contact information are flashed on your screens right now. Um, so, yeah, once again, thank you for spending your afternoon with us. This has been your host, Nikki Gil-Albert for Mod Talks. Hope to see you guys again next time. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you again,
Thank you,
everyone.
Architect. Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you, Nikki. We'll talk soon again, Brian, Nikki.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Nikki.